Most of us operating in 2025 are driven by a nervous system managed by the amygdala. This small, hoarded self lives in a state of constant clinging to past identities, to professional titles, and to a persistent fear of death. This excerpt from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad details an ancient method for breaking that cycle. It describes the self through neti neti, or not this, not that. By systematically negating every attribute we possess, we reach a core that is indestructible and unfettered. The sage Ramana Maharshi weaponized this philosophy into a single, laser-focused question: who am I? He called this vichara, a tool aimed directly at the illusion of a separate perceiver. For thousands of years, practicing vichara required a grueling, lifelong marathon of mental discipline. It was an elite spiritual pursuit that required almost total withdrawal from the world to achieve any result. Because the biology of the ego is so resilient, spiritual liberation remained a rare anomaly. The vast majority of humanity remained trapped in existential fear, unable to sustain the intense inquiry needed to see past the I. By the year 2078, the environment for this inquiry has moved to the moon. The lunar Eyrie is a vast transparent dome perched on the rim of a crater, shifting the search for the self from ancient monasteries to the edge of the vacuum. Here, an ancient entity named Zoran observes the deployment of abyssal mode, a technology that turns the pursuit of enlightenment into a biological certainty. Humanity stopped trying to meditate their way out of the illusion. Instead, they built a machine, a physical mirror designed to shatter the ego by force. The 3,000-year-old riddle of the Upanishads was effectively reduced to a literal switch, capable of inducing ego death on demand. A traveler named Fletcher observes the process inside the Eyrie. Hundreds of humans float in zero-G lotus positions, their bodies wrapped in living light membranes that pulse in time with their heartbeats. The neural lace is grown from crystalline neuromelanin and quantum-entangled microtubules. These structures integrate into the biological framework of the brain to manipulate cognitive states. It triggers total sensory and cognitive suspension in exactly 0.7 seconds, severing the brain's connection to the outside world entirely. This creates an absolute void. There is no AI co-pilot, no cloud connection, and no sensory input. There is only the raw, starless dark behind the eyes. By technologically executing a total blackout of the universe, the machine creates a crucible. The mind is trapped with nothing to perceive but the fact of its own existence. Into that artificial darkness, the system hurls a single prompt: who am I? As the mind frantically searches for an identity to cling to, the system executes a mechanical version of the neti-neti sequence. Every memory and title the brain offers is systematically rejected. For Fletcher, the process feels like glowing scales burning away. He falls through every identity he has ever occupied: the medieval monk, the starship pilot, the grieving lover, and the terrified child. The process eventually consumes the sense of blackness itself. Even the identity of the person asking the question is stripped away, leaving no asker behind. At the climax, the distinction between the fuel and the fire dissolves. What remains is a laughter older than time, the sound the universe makes when it realizes it was only pretending to be separate. Technological ego death occurs the exact millisecond the system crashes the illusion of the separate perceiver. Fletcher waits with bioluminescent filaments tracing his meridians. His vagus nerve has been rewired to process fear purely as data. It no longer defines his identity. He describes the experience as being the sky, merely wearing a human suit for the fun of it. This 2091 summary illustrates the shift from experimental to societal. The amygdala is rewoven. Fear no longer functions as identity. This state is sahaja samadhi, natural eyes-open absorption. Here, children learn self-inquiry before multiplication. Work becomes lila, and death a graduation. When humans spend weeks in orbital monasteries bathing in the direct experience of Brahman, while drones tend to their bodies, their societal goals change. Freed from the drive to hoard, they design cities that function as love letters to the unborn. Zoran addresses those sitting in 2025 who are still clutching a small, hoarded self. The highly advanced society of the neural silent skies represents the universe remembering itself through your current awareness. The closing text of the chapter explains that asking, "Who am I?" with sincerity in the present acts as a retrocausal engine. This inquiry in 2025 provides the energetic spark that eventually lights the neural laces of the lunar Aerie. The flame was never inside the wood was only pretending it could hide the fire for the joy of discovery. The next silence is already calling to you.